Back for part 3 of this Excel formulas fun. Make sure you finish the first 2 sections, the first 2 videos before you try this one. I'm going to go fairly fast. So one thing that I did in advance that I'll point out is that sometimes we want a title that goes across several columns. So if you look in this sheet, and I'm on the count sheet, when you first go to it, favorite ice cream is going to be kind of crammed over here. And just to show you what that looks like, if there were something in this cell, it would just cut that off. We wouldn't even see it. So what we want to do is we want to take that, we want to spread it across. We want to join 4 cells to make one big wide one. I'm just going to select all of those, and then on the home tab up here, if I go up here, there's a merge and center option, and what that does is, well, it merges or joins a bunch of cells together and then centers the text in between them. So I've got all that stuff in there. And look at that. Nice title, huh? Yeah, I thought so. So here, what this is going to do is it's going to count. So a little poll here of who likes chocolate, who likes vanilla, and who likes strawberry ice cream. I don't know what's wrong with people who like vanilla ice cream. There's so many better things in life. Like, if vanilla ice cream is your favorite, you're living life wrong. But basically, I want a formula that's going to count these for me. Now, obviously, this is not a huge list, and so it would be easy to do it myself. But let's say the answers change, or the other thing that's a little bit confusing about the way that I've done this is that I've used the number 1 here, and like if I added those up, it would be the exact same thing as counting them, you know. But these could be any number, and I just want to count how many numbers there are in each of these columns. And this formula only counts numbers. We'll talk about how to count other things on the next sheet. But this one is simply just called count. So if we type in count and select that formula, then we can just say, what do we want to count? Well, I just want to count whatever's in this column. So I'm just going to highlight all that. Count whenever you see a number between B4 and B19. And if I hit enter, it'll give me a 7. So again, I could just do the same thing. I'll just show you that again. Select all the cells, even the ones without numbers, because again, maybe some weirdo changes their mind. But I could have also used the magic of the fill handle as well there to create that last formula. Okay, so that's how to count numbers. And again, if this is any number at all, it's still going to count that. It's not adding it, it's just counting it. But if I put another number, it doesn't go up by 4,564, it just goes up by 1. So it's just counting how many numbers it sees. But sometimes I want to count things that are not numbers. And this one is a little bit more complicated, so I've given you a little hint down at the bottom here. But this formula is called count if. Okay? And count if has to have 2 parts. So if you see this little box that pops up here, count if has to have a range where we're going to look, and then criteria, what are we looking for? So there's 2 important parts to this formula separated by a comma. The first part is the range. Where am I going to look? Well, once again, I'm going to select all the cells under chocolate. So I want it to look there. Then I have to tell it what to look for. So this one, I'm going to put a comma. And then if we're looking for text or anything that's not a simple number, it has to be in quotation marks. So in quotation marks, I'm going to put the letter C. Then I'm going to close my bracket. I'm going to hit enter. And it's going to count how many times it sees the letter C. And again, if I go and put more C's in there, that's going to go up. So let me show you that again. Here the fill handle is not going to work because we're still looking for the letter C. And there's no C's here, right? So that's not going to work. So you can use the fill handle, but you have to change what it's going to look for. I'm just going to show it to you again anyway. Equals count if, and then say we're looking over here this time, comma, quotation marks. This time we're looking at the letter V for vanilla. You got to close those quotation marks and the brackets, and there you go. So just to show you, if I do use the fill handle, right now it's looking in the right spot, but it's looking for the letter V. If I want, I could have just gone and changed that to an S, and there we go. So we have all of that. So that would be our totals here. And again, if one of those letters disappeared or a different letter popped up in here or whatever, that formula is just looking for the letter C, the letter V, and the letter S. Okay, so we got that one. Let's go to the next one, shall we? Concat. Oh yeah, I love concat. This is kind of a fun one. So concat, what it does is it'll take two columns of things and stick them together. So the way I've done this, I recognize does not make a lot of sense, but if there were, sometimes you want a column that has people's first name and last name combined into one cell. If we had first names and last names here, this would make more sense, but sometimes I don't do things that make sense. So that's just kind of how you might use this. Again, it's equals. And this one, well, I've given you the name of the formula. It's called concat. And what concatenate means is stick two things together. Okay? So I'm going to join whatever's in this cell with whatever's in this cell. So I'm going to click this and then put a comma. And then if I did this and then a bracket, it would stick them together. Now, that is technically correct. However, I like there to be a space in there. It just looks kind of weird. So if I want to insert my own text in there, my own string of whatever in there, I just put it in quotation marks. So I'm going to put a quotation mark, I'm going to put a space, another quotation mark, and then a comma, and then this column over here. And again, I'll close that and hit enter. And now it has a space in there. I'm going to do that one more time, even though I could just fill handle it. Concat. I want to take the first column, comma, in quotation marks, I'm just going to hit the space bar, comma, and then I'm just going to go and take that second column, close that, enter. So you get the idea, and again, fill handle makes life much easier. Now that column is not wide enough, so I just got to make it a little bit wider. That looks better. So down here, I want to do a formula that is going to tell me again how many people like chocolate, how many people like vanilla, and how many people like strawberry. Do you remember that from this one? Let's see if you do. The one formula in here that I'll show you is if this one is a count if. Okay, and then we just select, well, I'll select these ones. I want to know how many things are in there, right? So if I put a comma, and then remember last time how we told it what we were looking for, the letter C or the letter S or the letter V? Well, if I put in quotation marks here a star, an asterisk means look for anything. That's a wild card. It means anything goes. So there should be 16 anything's in there. Any one of those cells that has something in it, because a wild card or an asterisk just means look for anything. That is going to search for that. So let's see if you can remember the count if formula and see if you can look for how many people like chocolate, how many people like vanilla, and how many people like strawberry down there. I'm going to get you to do that one on your own. Then I'm going to show you one more, and then I'm going to leave the hard ones for another video. So sort, this is just, this is a list of students at my previous school. And, oops, that's not wide enough. And the classes that they were in. Right now, all this information is sorted alphabetically, but if I wanted to make myself a class list, if I wanted to see who was in what class, I could sort this data however I want. So if I go to data here, there's a button that says sort. And what sort does is it'll let me take that information and obviously sort it in it whatever way I want. Now the first thing I want to look for is up here. Does your data have headers? Is there column headings up here that I want to use when I sort this. Do I want those to stay at the top? Sometimes a table does not have a header and it's just data. There's nothing up there. So I want to move everything around. Here, though, I want to leave those top ones alone. I don't want to move them. I always want them to stay there, and they're not included in what I'm sorting. So I'm going to leave this, make sure this is turned on. So it's going to look at that top row there for what I'm going to sort by. So right now it's sorted by name and then by class. If I switch this around and I sort this by class and then by name, or I guess class and gender is a better descriptor here because I've combined the class and the gender, and click OK. Now it's going to sort those. I notice I have a few blank ones in here. You could go and delete those if you wanted to. And well, I meant to change this one, and now I remember why. I apologize for the somewhat dated and ignorant binary gender classifications here. You know, as a society, we've moved a little beyond that. We're not necessarily all just male or female, as it should be. So, yeah, whatever. It's an old thing. People are still classified those ways. It's not necessarily right. That's my speech for that one. I'm going to leave it there and come back in a separate video for the last section, which is a little bit more difficult.